Alright, so the bluing has been cured for about a week now, and I'm just going to put it together, so not going to really do too much abuse to it, but that's kind of how this is the blue/black durablued. Turned out really well, and just a reminder again, this was all polished, so it's kind of an experiment for myself as well to see if the durablued will actually stick onto polished steel. And so far it seems like it's doing a really good job. Can't really scratch it much, and I mean I don't want to abuse it too much, but this is just an experiment for me. So there it is. And I have gloves, but right now my hands are really dry, so I'm just going to use my bare hands. So everything's been coated and everything. Just didn't take off some few things here, but the bolt assembly is pretty much all stripped, so I'll go over that, and it's going to be kind of like a reassembly video as well. So I mean, this was stained with mahogany stain, I believe, and coated with about 5 or 6 coats of the clear coat. This is stock here. I just have this to protect the wood. I'll be moving that aside. Alright, so I guess a better angle would be to be there. Okay, starting with this, as I go along I'm just going to be using Ezox gun care. This is it's really good. It cleans, lubricates, and actually takes off lead as well, and penetrates really deeply and prevents rust. So even though I durablued it, I just want to be extra careful for the parts that I didn't cover with durablued, and just use Ezox to make sure it's going to be rust proof, or rust preventative, better. I'll just be using some cloth here. Our safety glasses. Okay. Alright. So we got little parts here. I believe I already coated these prior. Let's see if that's in the camera. Yep. But just again, I'll be coating it just for good measures. We have our firing pin assembly here. And also, just to let you know, this was all degreased before, so that's why after the durablued, any places where it didn't get it, I'm just trying to coat it with Ezox gun lubricant / rust preventative protectant oil here to make sure it doesn't rust. There we go. Firing pin just goes basically inside here. Simple, just push this tab down to make sure it goes in as well. Before that, what we're going to do is we have little pins. Alright. So, as again, this is the Remington Model 10A. It's a bolt carrier that you have, may or may not be the same that I have. So I'll just kind of zoom in a little bit more to show you guys what I'm doing. Alright. Even the little screws, I'm just going to coat it with a little bit. What we want to do is put the firing pin and the sear in together. We put the firing pin in, and then we kind of push this little guy here, and that's our indication if it's cocked or, oh wait, now this one's our indication if it's cocked or not. So kind of move those two aside. And then you're already going to put the sear inside, and then just let gravity do its work and push it in. little bit picky. There we go. And so now it's in the decocked position. And so what happens, which is pretty cool, is that, so on this side, I'll kind of represent it. And the scratches you see, I did that on purpose to see if it was, you know, how resistant it's going to be just right after it was curing, because I don't really care if it's blued right there. Basically, this guy's going to come here and you're going to push. It's going to push the firing pin assembly backwards, and then the sear is going to hold it, and that's why we have this little guy here that I'm going to install soon. That just goes on top of there and just provides a constant pressure upwards, so whenever it gets the firing pin gets pushed backwards, the sear has a force this way and it locks it, and once you're ready to pull the trigger assembly, that's basically this, has this little hook that will be connecting to the sear, and we'll be able to disengage the firing pin that way. I really recommend you just kind of play around with it to get a feel of how it works. It's really cool. And once that's all in, we want to be able to put a pin inside here. So we've got pin here, and let's see. I'm gonna get this pin, the larger pin of the two. This one, the smaller one's gonna go up here. And so at its decocked position, you want to align the firing pin assembly and the sear where you can see it clear. And just going to drive it. We'll go from, just move all other little things aside so they don't bounce around and get lost. I'll just put it on a magnetic tray. There we go. Put that all aside. Okay, so the bigger one was on the lowest one. Okay. Right, so don't force anything. Just a little bit more. There we go. So now the sear is in place. If you guys have a brass punch, that'll be so much better, because I'm just being real careful not to hurt the metal around it. I mean, this is just a fun gun for me that I use to, you know, plink around, have fun. So, and it's pretty, like I said, it's an experiment that I'm doing. So, it doesn't really matter too much for me if I mar it, but I don't want to mar anything if I don't have to. Nonetheless, there we go, we have one there. And we're going to just have our little spring here, which just applies constant pressure upwards. The engineers probably thought that the wider one goes down so it gets more more balance, and so it goes in this way. And we have our ejector, which will always have a force going upwards this way. That'll give a force pushing down this way, which will grab on the case of the shell and eject that. So I have that there, and put that there, and kind of compress it down. And I've got the pin that I just made. Align the holes, push that through. I mean, I could just push it. I mean, you could obviously tell that it's not going to fall out unless you really bang it around, because it always has pressure going upwards, so that should be sufficient. And so there we go, we've got a little clip there. And I think that's about, oh, yep. Just gonna coat the inside of that, just oil it up. Okay. And then we're going to put a little span here. Okay. So like I said before, this is just going to cause a constant pressure on there. With a little screw. Go. Should be sufficient. There we go. Perfect. And then just kind of lubricate the bolt a little bit. Go. So there we have the bolt.